And then just to expand on that a bit, if you are, or what should I say, how many of the self-published authors or books, I don't know if there's stats on this, but like you don't really know where you are till someone like you would assess what you've written. And
Right.
how many things are published that really should never have been published because it's more of a personal memoir, or, you know, it could be a book of poetry my grandmother wrote, but is it really worth the effort of publishing it? Or should I, you know, keep, you know, I'm not even sure what my question is.
I think you know, let me shoot in the dark here a little bit with your guidance and see if we can get there. Because oftentimes I do two things with writers. I talk to them about how far open you're going to bring the door. How far open are you going to let people into your life? And so some people will say, well, I read The Glass Castle, and boy, she revealed everything, right? That's fine for her, but it doesn't mean that you have to. You can still convey your story or your message without whipping the door all the way open, right? Billy Crystal is one of my favorite comedians. And if you've ever gone out and you've seen him in public, he and his wife are able to have dinner in a restaurant without being bothered. It's a
Wow.
really amazing accomplishment. And the reason for that is he really values his privacy. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. He's not looking for attention. Like I had a writer who was here in New York at a conference and he went out to eat lunch and Jimmy Fallon was at the next table. And he came back from lunch to the conference and he came over and he said, you'll never believe what happened to me and my wife. We ended up eating at the table next to Jimmy Fallon. I said, what happened? I said, did you bother him? He said, nope. He said he started making jokes and laughing at what I was eating. I said, okay. But
Great.
that's because it's Jimmy's choice, right? It's
Right.
not your choice. And basically, so it's the same thing. Like for people who are known quantities, like for example, when I'm at a writers conference, a lot of people know who I am. They'll take pictures with me, they'll do things like that, right? But when I go out on the street and I go to the grocery store, nobody knows who I am. Why? Because I'm not that person. I'm not Kim Kardashian or somebody else who's basically trying to get publicity for whatever reason. And so there are lots of things about writing memoirs, especially. I do a lot of legal corners about what you need to know as a writer, as far as what you should and should not be publishing,
Hmm.
and about how it can come back to bite you. You know,
Interesting. Yeah,
writing a
that's a whole,
memoir is definitely not a vengeful thing. It shouldn't be
right.
anyway.
And then if I can ask one more on, what is it, the ROI on self-published versus using an agent, just to, you know, as a personal investment or form of income.
Well, you know, when you actually are going for an agent, if you're going to do it on your own, it's not going to cost you a lot, but it may take you a while or you may never get one. So then it's going to cost you time. When you work with someone like me, you're going to pay me to help you. So that's going to cost. However, the publishing itself is something you're not going to pay for. So once you
Okay.
get an agent, right, then basically the publisher is going to take a larger lion's share of the book's proceeds, but you will get what we refer to as royalties in our industry. And so basically you'll get anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending on the book and the agent and the publisher agreement.
So it goes down to how many are sold, basically, is whether it was
That's right.
beneficial or
Correct.
reach.
Correct. Yep. It's
Thank
all
you.
about reach. Yep. And it's all, you know, the ROI for books, well, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't just come from the book. It's what you do with it. So like I've worked with people in children's who basically have merchandising lines that we've created. Why? Because if you could have that stuffed animal, if you could have, you know, something that's related to the book. I'm working with another writer right now. I think it's over here. Let me see if I can grab it. Yes, I can. So she wrote a fantasy novel for middle grade kids. We call them the tweeners. They are 9 to 12 years old. And so we're working on a cookbook that is a spin-off from the food that's in the book. So
Brilliant.
it's a whole nother, right? It's a whole nother revenue stream,
Yeah, you said
right?
stuffed animals. That took me back to when my girls were little.
Yeah,
To get that
right?
character,
Because
the stuffed animal. Yep.
100%, right? I mean, how many of us had Blue's Clues or one of those animals, right? You know, all of us had a thing one or thing two shirt, or, you know, all of those wonderful characters that we all grew up with. And those are important. But when you're the writer, now you're the creator, right? I also provide guidance and consulting for decks of cards for publishing as well. And so that's something, you know, the professional organizers, I challenged them to do that. And they actually had the only deck of cards that were time-based in the professional organizing space, and blew out. They were stocking stuffers. That was our strategy. And they just blew the barn doors off. And there's only one other deck, and it's not by Martha Stewart. So
Got it.
it was really like, it was fodder. I mean, it was just like an open field. I was like, you guys got to go for this.
I love that.
Thank
So I
you.
know we have about 5 minutes left. So there's another question in the chat from Mark. Are there any tools you recommend for building an outline / thread for the story? Open source, freeware, any kind of premium preferred?
I don't really know of anything that provides sort of a step-by-step guideline, because books are so custom to what you're writing. It really just depends. Like the best thing I can give you is the tool I gave you, is to basically identify that principle and outline your pieces, because that's something that, you know, for a lot of people, that's part of the reason why I was saying, you know, that's something I wouldn't want to put out on YouTube, because I basically provide this talk, you know, for people like Laura, for groups like yours, because it's something that for me on my website, I give this away because it's valuable. It gives you the opportunity to organize your thoughts, to actually put your outline together, to figure out what's supposed to be in each scene, in each chapter. What is it? How do you move the story forward? All of those pieces, right? And so, as I always like to say, you're going to spook them, right? Is it, oh, like I was saying, like, is it romance? What is it? You know, is it okay? It's a how-to book. I want to help you, self-help, right? Or I want you to meditate. Like one of my clients says, meditate 15 minutes a day. That's her book, you know? It's really all about that. And so it just depends on what you're doing. And your other question mark about testing, that's where you actually go out to your audience. Talk about what you want to write about. See what their response is. You can also write an article on LinkedIn. See if you get any response, any traction. Lots of ways to test. Lots and lots of ways to test. But basically, you have to get your message straight, and you've got to continually pound the same pavement. And then you'll be known for that.